Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back to K&K Real Talk. This is episode 24, and we're diving into another coaching session. I'm Kenni King. I'm a holistic health and wellness coach and transformation life coach. And today I'm actually coaching my partner in crime, Kristen McCrovey. Hi, Kristen.
Good afternoon, everybody.
She is the founder of Endometriosis and Me, and you can see right next to her all this fantastic swag, this fight like a girl swag. It's an Endo Day swag. I have got to get my hands on some of those socks for
Me
sure.
too. I want more of them. I want like every pair.
Yeah, all the socks be Endo, and I can't adult today socks.
Mhm.
Um, So we're so excited about her shop opening, and so you can definitely find the swag at endometriosisandme.com, as well as all the other things that we do, including K&K Real Talk. So we're so happy to have you here today. If you missed episode 23, we just did, we just went into a session and we found out sort of what Kristen was currently working on and what she wants to accomplish and what needed to sort of be unveiled for her to continue to get to those other layers. So right before we hopped on here, I did ask her, how did it go with connecting to your anchor last week? She said that that was fantastic and that she has been doing that twice a day. And so what we want to do is we're going to just dive into what's next. And so I asked Kristen, like what's the area of frustration or an area where you feel stuck today? And so she shared a little bit about an internal struggle. So Kristen, I'd love for you to just go ahead and share with everyone the internal struggle you're feeling right now.
So just with like taking my health more seriously and eating better and moving more, and I started doing Muay Thai and some self-defense stuff and just like trying to better myself and better my health. Um, I don't know, like I feel like an energy shift or some kind of imbalance or struggle just making that change. I mean, I've been who I am for a long time and have had the same bad eating habits and not exercising and stuff like that. So I just feel like I'm like changing as a person, and but that's like affecting my relationship with other people, which I don't want to. Like I want to be a better person, but still be the person that whomever needs me to be.
Okay. So you want to be a better person, but still be the person that whomever needs you to be. Yes?
Yeah, it's like I want to change but stay the same at the same time, which is impossible.
I want to change but stay the same. I think that's a struggle that not a lot of people realize is happening beneath the surface. Like, we want to
Yeah.
change, but there's a part of us that goes, hold the phone. A, what's been happening is working for me. I mean, heck, I'm still alive. And B, what if my relationships are forced to change? So let me ask you if there's been anything that you've noticed happen that's been unpleasant that's caused you to feel this conflict. Like, has there been something in your relationship or in any relationship that have felt like you're not still you?
um, a little bit with like my people I'm closest to, obviously. I mean, they see me the most, like my parents and my boyfriend. I feel like a little bit of like friction
Mm.
there with both sets of people. And it's just, I mean, I know it's me because I'm the one doing all this like energy shifting and just trying to be a lighter, more positive, happy person kind of, and not depressed, just keeping myself busy and moving and trying to do new activities and work a lot on my site. And I think like I've been working too much on endometriosis and me, and not enough on my relationships with real
Mm,
humans.
okay. All right. So right now it seems as though you might be overworking and not nurturing the relationships that are important to you as much as you'd like.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like one situation that bothered me was my stepmom emailed me, which she literally never emails me, to me it was kind of like bragging, but I'm sure that wasn't the intent of it. And she was telling me about my stepbrothers. She said, "Oh, I thought your stepbrother was like calling me to tell me more about his promotion, but no, it's actually that they're having a baby."
Mm,
So like I feel like, okay, so now you're like throwing he's got a promotion in my face, and now you're throwing that he's gonna have a baby in my face, which I never even wanted children, and I still don't. But like you still, as a woman, get that ticky clock feeling when someone close to you is having a baby and you're not, and I don't even want a baby, but somehow still feel jealous maybe
yeah.
because they're getting this like new life and it's going to bring a lot of joy and like attention, and like I just feel like I haven't been getting recognition from my parents from like what I'm doing and building, and then they talk about how my stepbrothers are getting promoted and have great jobs and babies and they're getting married, and I'm not even included in any of that.
Mm, okay. All right. So one of the biggest things has been information that you're receiving from somebody in your family. It seems like it's bragging about others and not acknowledging all this, the work that you've done.
Yeah, which is it's selfish, but
Maybe, but what if it isn't? What if it's just a part of you that would like to receive recognition? So let me ask you, how do you currently celebrate or receive recognitions for all the work that you've done and the milestones that you've crossed?
I really just celebrate myself.
And how do you celebrate?
I don't even know, just like, yes, I did it.
Okay,
That's
so you give yourself a little internal yes.
a little pat on the back to myself.
Beautiful. Internal yes or a pat on the back. Okay. All right. What would you like to receive in terms of recognition from those that you love the most?
I don't even know, just like I know that I talk about it all the time because like it's super super important to me, and like that's why I do the podcast and my website and make stuff to sell to you guys so you can spread awareness and like where something that maybe someone will ask about, and then you could tell them about endometriosis. And like I just want to do so much, and then I just it's too much, and then I'm always talking about my website and how like what I'm doing, and it's always that's like all I talk about. I'm not like talking about like current events or the weather or whatever. And like I'm too excited about it that now people are annoyed.
Mm.
So then that's not why I'm getting any like positive feedback.
Sure, because if they were to say, "Oh, great job on that," they might need to listen for 2 hours for you to explain the ins and outs of it.
Probably.
That's fair. Yeah. So, and so from their point of view, that's pretty much your whole life. That's all that you're talking about. Can you tell me what lets you know that they're annoyed?
Well, my boyfriend will tell me. And he just like that's all you're talking about. I'm yeah, I'm proud of you, but I don't want to hear anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But and like my parents, I've been like so busy that I haven't had like because they don't live in the same city as me anymore. So like I have to call them and check in and stuff. And sometimes I just get so busy that I forget. And like, but then like in my head, I should be like, hey, you guys can call me too. The phone works both ways. You can see what's up with me, and what I'm doing or whatever, I'll always call people back, even if I can't answer.
Mhm. Yeah. So tell me what you would most like. How would you like all of these pieces to fit in regard to the shifting that you're creating, your relationships? If you were to just paint me a quick picture of what would that look like? What would your interactions look like? Or your acknowledgement look like? What would that be?
I think on that specific subject of like me talking too much, which I generally do, just like consciously think of the subjects that I'm talking about so that people are actually engaged and I'm not talking about the same thing they've heard 100 million times, so that when I actually do, they're actually interested in hearing what's new with it or whatever, not every single email and detail that I do, you know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's like for me, I don't really need to share every little thing with my boyfriend because it gets to be too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like I understand that now. I think that's like a realization I like he helped me make and then I made on my own kind of thing. Like he helped push that onto me and then when I really thought about it, I'm like, yeah, I really do. That's all I talk about and that's kind of shitty.
Mm-hmm.
like I'm bragging kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But really I'm just so excited and like passionate about it and I just want to like talk to everyone about it and like stop people on the street and be like, do you know what endo is?
Mm-hmm. So let's get really clear. What would, if you were to define bragging, what would that be to you?
Like just like I did this and I did this and this person messaged me and this is a possibility and maybe I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna open my shop and
Mm-hmm.
maybe like to someone else say A they don't really care and B that's just like what I'm doing. Like
Mm-hmm.
everyone has their own like project, job, whatever.
Mm-hmm. So, and the way that you were mentioning bragging earlier, it definitely had a negative connotation. So I just want to look. So, because there is a difference, I think, if I were to, the way that it was expressed earlier, where it was like she was emailing me and it felt like she was bragging. And then if I'm only talking about this, even though it's just through my lens, it might seem like I'm bragging. Is
Mm-hmm.
there anything wrong with sharing people what's important to you and what's going on in your life?
No, but there, I think I'm just like oversharing.
That's fine. Yeah.
Too
So
much.
let's create a new definition for bragging just for us. And that could be bragging is a way of expressing yourself to prove you're better than others. Let's just
Yeah,
let's make that the definition.
yeah.
When you're sharing what you're doing, are you truly bragging?
I'm not trying to say that I'm better than anyone because I mean, there's tons of people in the community doing
Yeah.
some of the same things that I'm doing.
You're not trying to compare, like you're not trying to say, you know, I'm the center of the universe and what you're doing doesn't matter, right?
No,
Okay.
like there's tons of like there's huge companies like the Endometriosis Foundation of America is huge. So like it's not like I'm ever going to be like, oh, I'm a giant corporation.
Well, you can be if you want to be, but that's not the point. So then let's look at this email with that same lens. What lets you know that that email was meant to say, here's all the things somebody else is doing and why it's better than what you're doing?
It's not like having, well, to me anyway, I'd rather be doing what I'm doing than having a baby.
Yeah. So you don't actually even want those other things.
No, like I don't, like I run my own business, so I promote myself, and I've never wanted kids. And like it's not like I'm not happy for him, and he'll be a great dad and
Right.
whatever. Just like even though you're happy for someone and you don't want what they are getting, you still get some jealousy, which is really weird.
Yeah, so let's dig into that's exactly what we're looking for. So we already established that the email, there was nothing in the email that actually makes you believe that in our new definition of bragging that she was trying to brag, right?
Yeah, no.
No.
She was just trying to let me know,
She was
but like
sharing information.
everyone perceives things differently. And like,
Yeah.
and like with it kind of like goes with the fat as armor is like, I always feel like someone's trying to hurt my feelings.
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly where we were getting to. Go ahead.
Most people are not malicious in any way. It's how I'm perceiving it. So like, I know that the change has to be in me. It's not other people that are being dicks. It's me being sensitive or just taking things the wrong way or to heart or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Well, and there's a reason for it, right? So everything that we do, every reaction that we have, whether we like it or not, the way that we feel about things, when we kind of zoom out, it's because of that perception you were just talking about. But people normally stop there and go, well, oh, that's just wrong. I'm just not perceiving it the right way. And then they just stop there. But that doesn't mean that that lens has changed and you're going to keep looking at other things and receiving that same message. So we need to see what is the thoughts that are created so that we can see what the belief is beneath the thoughts. So whenever whenever you receive a message like that, and in addition to someone's just trying to hurt my feelings, are there any other thoughts that come up?
Not really.
Okay, so it's just someone's always trying to hurt my feelings.
Which is not the case at all.
Sure. Yeah, no. That's the thing. Most of the beliefs that we have are actually wrong. But our brain is so brilliant, it's always scanning to prove that everything we believe is true. Because the only thing scarier than believing a lie is not knowing what the hell to believe in the first place, right?
So true.
Yeah. And so we're always, the brain is going to continue to look for evidence that someone's trying to hurt your feelings until we find out where it comes from. And then once we find out where it comes from, we can change it. We can switch it. So when you think, I always feel like someone's trying to hurt my feelings, what feelings come up with that? What feelings, sensations, emotions go along with that?
I'd say more recently like guilt, because I know that they're not actually
Okay.
trying to hurt my feelings. It's just like in my head, like your brain will make up stories, especially as a woman, especially with our like hormones. And I've definitely felt like a hormonal imbalance lately, trying to like lose weight and change my diet and things. So my body's a little bit like, whoa, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
But so like it's like compounding change on each other, which maybe is like too much for me right now.
Yeah, change upon change. And that's understandable. So what I want to do is I have a particular exercise I want to do. We're going to save it for the next session because it's a deep dive and that's going to take us a little bit. And we're going to base it on, I always feel like someone's trying to hurt my feelings. We're going to base it on that in the next session.
Sure.
Today, for today's purposes, I want to just highlight some of these pieces so that you have this opportunity to step back and give yourself some space to just consider different lenses and perceptions, right?
And yeah, it's like with the perception, like as you're trying to change your perception, too, it's an energy shift. Like that's the only way that I can explain it, is like like you literally feel weird,
Mm-hmm.
like you're trying to move out of this negative Nancy person and move into a positive, energetic, light, light aura, like energetic feeling. Like I don't even know how to explain what I'm trying to even say. That's how like confusing it is, right?
Yeah, and that makes sense. And so what I want to highlight for you is the part that what you're feeling is totally and completely natural. It's so normal because we have a part of our brain, we have three brains. We have one part of our brain that, well, as coaches we call it the critter brain because it's literally like fight, flight, or freeze. Its responsibility is to keep you safe. It wants to keep you in love, safety, and belonging. And whatever the habits are, if they've been working for you for this many years, that part of the brain says, I'm alive, so this is perfect. I'm doing just fine. That part sees change as death. So you have one brain that says change is death, and it's back here, it's the brainstem, which is why I point to. And then you have the part of your brain that's like, wants to change and wants growth and wants to be the best version of you, and it's always kind of seeking that. And then there's the other side that's more like reasoning and trying to connect the dots. So when you have a part of your brain though that's like wanting change and wanting to go towards growth, and a part of your brain that's saying hold the phone, that's scary shit, I'm not doing it, can you see how you would have this like tug of war?
That's exactly it right now. Like,
Yes. So
and like I'll just add in being completely honest with everyone. I was so proud of myself that I did not eat any candy on Halloween. And B, I um I had pizza today for lunch and I feel kind of crappy and bloated. It was really good, but I was good and I limited myself to 2 pieces
okay.
and that's all I ate and I was actually full, which usually I would eat like half a pizza.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. You're doing perfectly.
And it's hard. Change, just so everyone knows, change is very hard. I like junk food and sitting, and my motivator brain, or whatever we're going to call it, is like, no, you need to be walking and doing yoga, and you need to eat celery and carrots, and let's go.
I love that motivator brain. We can call it that
Yeah,
motivator brain and critter brain, and then we got the inner critic. We've got all these like things happening. So of
it's an
course,
internal struggle all the time.
huh?
It's an internal struggle all the time just to like balance out all your brain pieces and your chakras and your body and make sure everything is in a line. It's like, oh my God.
It feels like that when you're in this space of like beginning and when you're in
Mhm.
the space of change. And then the cool thing is as your brain becomes like, as you rewire it and then it becomes adapted, it gets much, much easier. So I will say that. And and also there's a reason that the journey gets to be all of these different things. And so there's highs and there's lows and there's I call it so when we're talking about transformation, it's like there's an expansion and contraction. So it's like we get this new stuff, we get really good at it, and then there's this part of us that contracts. Well, we can think about it like those two brains, like think about it like a rubber band. The further it gets out, the more it craves to come back because it's trying to pull you back into homeostasis or safety. Like it's trying to.
Yeah, like it's like your box or your house. Your little safety brain is in your house. You're trying to leave your house, and the further you get from your house, the more your little safety brain is like, "Hey, get the hell back here."
Yes. And so there's a couple of things that we do to teach that part of the brain that actually we're quite safe, we're okay here. But that part of your brain, I can already tell it's afraid that you will grow apart from your relationships because that's where we started the session, right? Like that's where the struggle has been. It's afraid that you will become a person that you're not, and that you won't get to be your true authentic self. You'll have to actually change who you are to fit into that version of you that you want to be. And none of those have to be true.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing is to just realize, and maybe this whole week, you can kind of repeat the mantra, something like, whatever, make it in your own words, but something like, I get to be me and who I'm becoming. Or I get to still be me, like who I am, the essence of who I am, and transform. We may, when we're evolving, do we die to our old selves? Sure. But we're not losing ourselves. We're unearthing the us we've always been.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we're reclaiming who we are and our power. But that struggle is happening because that part of the brain's like, no way, sister.
Yeah, it's like, I don't really want to make change into habit. I'm cool with what I'm doing.
Yeah, and so it wants you to go be still and eat junk food.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So here's what I want to do. I'm going to read you a little excerpt I use actually in my coaching practice, and it's just a little handout I use, and it's about sabotage. Because the further away we get from what's normal for us, the closer we get to creating sabotaging habits. We will go into self-destruction mode just to get back to where we feel we are safe.
And I've done that previously. Like, I had lost weight, like 50 pounds or so. I mean, I've gained more than that back because that's what happens. And plus, I had a hysterectomy, which did not help that.
Sure.
But so I've already done that. I was following the healthy habits and things, and then I just, like, you literally go from one day being healthy to like complete crap again.
Yeah.
And then now I'm pulling myself out of eating crappy and being comfortable, which actually is not comfortable in my body.
Right.
And maybe like my mind is comfortable because it's not really having to work too much.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I'm getting older, I'm going to be 30 in February, which I'm a little nervous about. But
30s are the best.
Exactly.
They really
30,
are.
40, thriving.
Yeah.
Like when you're moving from that old self to the new self, especially when you've already had that backtrack, it feels like it's even harder.
Yeah. And scarier.
Yeah. Because I know that I can gain weight back because it's easy for me. It's so easy for me to put it on. It's not easy to take it off.
Mm-hmm. So, yes, I want to share something that I think will be good for you and anybody listening that's felt this way. And here's the thing I love to lean on whenever I feel stuck or get stuck on my own journey and have to go to my coach and have them like, okay, help me unravel this crap. And it's the beautiful thing about transformation is because there are times that are hard and there are times that feel really easy and you get a burst of energy and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm a freaking rock star. I can't even believe I can do all this stuff. Like you're proud of yourself and you feel beautiful and fantastic and powerful. And then it's like a wave comes down and you go into that ebb or you go into that contraction. And it almost feels like, I call it sometimes the cave of integration or the Great Depression, like just depending on the level, because there's different levels for each of us. And it's not negative. Like a lot of times we think that if we're not positive, happy-go-lucky, then something's wrong with us. But the truth is if we don't take time to experience the discomfort and the fear and the stuff that's going on, the pain, the anger, the frustration, whatever it is, that gets buried somewhere. And it bites us in the ass later, I will say that. But the beautiful thing about transformation and about committing to being just a little better each day, not perfect, not where you say, I'm never eating pizza again. No, you had a couple.
Yeah.
You didn't eat the half of a pizza. You had 2 slices. You're feeling in your body that that might not have been the best decision for your body, but you gave yourself permission to experience some grace there. You let yourself have it. You didn't restrict yourself. You didn't beat yourself up after you ate it. And so there's
Oh,
this,
my body will do that for me.
yeah, body will let you know, hey, this isn't what's serving me. And all we can do is say, thanks for letting me know. I'll keep that in mind.
I
Sometimes,
will probably do it again, but I will keep it in mind.
yeah, I'll keep it in mind. Sometimes I'll listen, sometimes I won't. But the beautiful thing about transformation is there comes a point where the risk, like being uncomfortable and inauthentic to your potential, to what you're capable of, and to your true power, that becomes more uncomfortable than the risk of honoring who you really are. And so these moments are normal and natural, but just keep that knowingness in the back of your mind that no matter how difficult it seems, that being still and eating junk food isn't going to honor your heart's desires. It's just not. And I have that same thing. I told my coach one time, I said, I just want to hide under the covers and never come back out. And she was like, well, do you really? And of course I couldn't say yes. In that moment I did, but I couldn't say yes because I knew that hiding under the covers for the rest of my life wasn't actually going to help me experience the most amazing, blissful, fully alive life that I want. It's just in that moment I did want to hide
And
under.
in that moment, that's allowed. I think you can go crawl under the covers and cry your face off, but the sun's going to rise tomorrow in the morning and you're going to get up.
Yeah. And sometimes we have to honor our needs. Like you may have noticed, I don't know if you, but like in the group, in the Endometriosis Nourish, Flourish, Thrive group, I haven't done a live video in a while, and I used to do them all the time. That's been a part of me honoring my current needs. I've had so much stuff going on that I'm like, okay, here's what I need right now, and I'm going to give myself the grace of this space to handle what I need right now. And so we do that. But I want to read you this thing on sabotage, because sabotage comes from multiple directions, and you will see and feel this from people that you love. And I want to read this because I know, our listeners or viewers that go through this, that, oh, I'm getting close to my goal, and then all the way back, now I got to start over and go through all the guilt and the aspect. I want to share this because this is it's not if I get off track, it's when I get off track. We're all going to get off track no matter what our goal is. And it's what we do after that counts. That's it. And there's no need to beat ourselves up. We just acknowledge what happened, get maybe curious about it if we're causing ourselves harm, and learn from it and move forward. So sabotage can come from 2 directions: the behavior of your friends, coworkers, colleagues, family, or your own inner rebellion. Others watching us venture into this healthier lifestyle may make comments or they may rebel against us. And this is related to health, this is lifestyle, this is career, this is if you're converting to a new religion. I mean, it doesn't matter what you're doing, you will receive this from others. It'll make them uncomfortable because maybe they aren't currently up-leveling themselves in a similar way. Even if they don't want, you said it so perfectly, Kristen, earlier. You said, even if I don't want what that person wants, there's still jealousy that comes up.
I know, it's so weird. It's dumb.
That's this part. Others watching us venture into a new lifestyle may make comments or rebel against us because it's a mirror of something in their own life, not what you like, what you're doing, something in their own life that they are not fully committed to. And when they see you taking steps or making changes or doing things, and they're like,
I should be doing that.
am I doing that? Do I have that? Or do I have something with equivalence to prove my worth, that I'm of the same level? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think also it could be that they're so used to seeing you as you are that they are uncomfortable with your change.
Yes. And so continuing, it's you may notice that some people close to you feel threatened when you embark on this kind of journey, and they will tempt you with things in the opposite. They'll tempt you with things you're trying to move away from. Sometimes they'll tempt you with food or activities that you're trying to move away from. Sometimes we feel guilty that they feel threatened, which it's not your fault that they feel bad. You don't own their feelings. But we will feel guilty when the others feel threatened and sabotage ourselves in order to be accepted. These reactions boil down to fear. Fear of not being loved, fear of not being accepted. Others, without the courage to take such a bold step, may unconsciously hope we fail. Our success would be uncomfortably challenging. When we take a step towards valuing ourselves more, our relationships are forced to shift. Our own rebellion is often based on our own fear of change, of taking responsibility of our lives, and of the change that our relationships may be up against. So, what if we no longer could hide behind excuses for not becoming anything we want? For not allowing ourselves to be who we really truly are? So the question here could be, and it doesn't have to be a question, it can be more so, make your journey work for you by taking responsibility for how your life turns out. Not you personally, all of us.
Everyone.
Yeah, like having that space, and sometimes taking an inventory of where our fears are. What if I'm not the person that I've always been, and because of that they don't want to be around me anymore or with me anymore? And one of the biggest things we can do is have that conversation. You know, sometimes it's having the conversation or being aware that other people's comments and opinions have nothing to do with us. So
That's exactly what I love to say. Oh my God, I love to say that. Whatever your thoughts and opinions of me are none of my business.
they're none of your business. So if you allow yourself to recognize that anybody's crap that's coming at you isn't about you, it isn't personal, and you get to own whether or not you choose to own their thoughts, their feelings, their opinions, and all of that. That part's up to you. I'm not saying that's like a cakewalk. It's challenging learning to do that. I will say there's a book. Oh, I have it right here. There's a book that I love that's really awesome for this. It's called The Four Agreements. I'm trying to get it so. And it is, it's really short. It's like a fast read. You can read it in like a very short amount of time. And these are four agreements that are basically ways that you can almost like wake yourself up and become a little bit more objective, from instead of having that lens of bias that we see the world through, like take that step back. And the agreements are: be impeccable with your word, which really has more to do with like saying what you mean and avoiding using words to speak against yourself. So it's more about, our words are powerful. So when we are talking, and if we're cutting ourselves down and being cruel to ourselves, we're not being impeccable with our word. We're actually causing a lot of damage. But the second one is, don't take anything personally.
I need to learn that.
The third one is, don't make assumptions. And the fourth one is, always do your best. And from his perspective, under any circumstance, your best is going to change. It's not like you have to be this perfect person. It's not about perfection. It's this book is about loving yourself in such a way that you can accept all parts of yourself, and treating yourself with a level of kindness and love so that you can be the person that you are. So yeah, that the don't take anything personally. What other people say tells us more about them than it does about us. And so practicing that aspect.
I think I need to read this.
Yes, it's great. The Four Agreements. It's fantastic. I've bought so many copies of it. So let's complete by focusing on some of these main points, because when we started, it was about that internal struggle around changing who I am and being the best version of myself can create conflict in relationships, and that really being scary. And one of the things you were concerned about was focusing so much on what's important to you and your passion that could be creating even more conflict in your relationship. So what are some ways that you would like to, based on the insights from this session and me just going back to those pieces, what are some things you'd like to focus on this week that'll actually help you nurture your relationships in the way that you most want?
Be mindful of my actions and what I'm talking about.
Whoops. Okay. So be mindful of actions and what I'm talking about. So let's go, because I want to make sure you have as much support as possible. Let's go into a scenario where you're going to see people or spend time with people. What would you like to do or talk about versus, like, how would you like to approach what you're going to talk about? Is it, I'm going to ask them questions about what's going on with them before I ever say anything about me? Or I'm going to, if they share something, I'm going to say, tell me more about that. Or I'm going to limit, if I talk about this part of my life, I'm going to limit it to a couple of things and make sure I'm talking about other parts of my life. Like what sticks out?
That.
All of that? Okay. Okay. So, so ask them how they're doing, what they're up to. How are you is like the worst way to do this, by the way.
Yeah.
Ask them about their lives, because whenever you say how are you, they're going to be like, I'm great, and then that ends the conversation. So ask them about their lives, and then when they share, tack on the tell me more. And you can add, like, tell me more about whenever, whatever they said. Well, tell me more about yada, yada. And so you can fill in the blank there. So tell me more. Or just ask specific questions. Okay. What else?
Not take things personally.
Okay, so work on not taking things personally. How do you think you could do that?
Just like take it in, and if I do think it's like offensive or like trying to be mean to me or something, I'll just think about it, and then most things just let it go.
Okay.
Because I think most things that I think are hurtful towards me are not intended to be that way.
Yeah. So I'm going to just pose the question, if it pops up into your head, well, they just said that to hurt my feelings, because that thought pops up. It's like, well, someone's always trying to hurt my feelings. Coming back with a question, like, this is what, like, I love trying to get curious whenever I get in that place where I'm making an assumption that, somebody's, that whatever I'm perceiving, that my initial assumption or reaction is correct, I start to ask questions. So it can be as simple as, what else might this mean? Or what else might be his or her intention? Like if you were to say, okay, so-and-so is probably not trying to hurt my feelings. What else could be their intention? By all means, if somebody's trying to hurt your feelings, of course, set a firm boundary. But it's very common that we perceive things and think someone's we make it personal about us. Mm-hmm. So you can ask, what else might they mean? How could I receive that objectively? Like, how can I take that in objectively? And because then you get a step back, right? You're giving yourself a breath and a pause. And sometimes that space is all we need in order to shift the meaning. How does all that sound?
Perfect.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, fantastic job. And then the one thing I want to just add in before we close is, don't forget your other mantra. You can use the mantra, whatever I said earlier. I get to be me and still transform. I get to be who I am, or, being the best version of me doesn't mean changing who I am at my essence or whatever. Just anything, make one up or look one up, something that feels good that you can begin to use as a bit of a mantra or affirmation that'll help you open up yourself to the truth versus the lie. Because it's not going to change overnight. The lie is going to be there. You're going to see it pop up in all sorts of ways. But you have the opportunity to interject the truth at any chance you get.
I like it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And don't forget your water this week.
Lots of water.
Lots of water. All right. So that was today's session. Everybody, thank you so much if you came through that with us and through the journey. And definitely let us know if anything resonated with you, if there was a particular aha or a takeaway or something that just helped you feel anything, something you'd like to take away, but also if there was anything that helped you feel a little bit less alone in the world and a little bit more like, oh, that's normal, that's natural, I'm not actually a crazy person trapped in my own mind. So we will, as always, message us. You can find Kristen at endometriosisandme.com or any of the groups. You can message her directly if you have any topics you'd love to hear us talk about, any questions, concerns, anything at all. And then same thing with me. You can find me in the closed group, Endometriosis, Nourish, Flourish, Thrive. You can also find me at follow my Facebook, Kenni Rochelle Coaching, though I will say just friend request me because you'll see way more on my personal profile than on my business one. So we love you guys. We're going to be back pretty soon. We'll have one more coaching installment. We have tons of other interviews and goodies coming your way. So love you, ladies. We will see you soon.
See you next week.
See you next week.